Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name's Catherine, if you didn't already know. Today I'm going to be doing like a get ready with me for a full glam face. I'm going out tonight, so yeah, I thought I would show you how I do my full glam look for nights out, what products I use to make sure my makeup lasts all night, and get that kind of like fully snatched, flawless skin look. So yeah, I'm going to run through how I achieved this look. I hope you find it useful and enjoy it, and if you do, then do give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe down below, and other than that, let's get into it. Okay, so what I like to do first is prep my skin. I'm going to take a bit of my Charlotte Tilbury magic cream and just put like a little bit of this on my face. So I just take a little bit because it is quite creamy, and I'd say if you had like oily skin I probably wouldn't do this step, but I do like to put like a moisturizer on just to kind of start to smooth my skin, and this cream is actually really nice. I've used it for quite a while now and I really like it. And then depending how like glowy you want your skin to be, you could put some like drops on your face as well underneath your foundation. So I use the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Serum Crystal Elixir. I just take a little bit of this because this does make your skin like super shiny. So it depends again if you like that glowy look or not. And again, if you're quite oily, this is quite like an oily product. So yeah, I'd say add a serum if you've got more like matte skin and want to make your makeup really glowy, and just pop a bit of this under your base. And then I pop on a primer. So I'm going to use the Smashbox Oil and Shine Control. This is a really good primer. It kind of counterbalances any sort of serum or cream because it does kind of like mattify your skin. Like there's no shine or oil to it. So I would definitely recommend this, especially if you are more oily. There's definitely like a matte finish primer, and I just really like it as a base. It just makes my makeup last a lot longer than if I didn't use one. And the thing is with like, especially with me, like getting ready for a night out, I also think one of the like important things is like allowing enough time. Like I hate getting ready in a rush, and I just think allowing like a good couple of hours just to spend doing like your hair and makeup, especially if you like enjoy that. For me, that's one of the best parts of going out, is actually the getting ready. Like I just like to take my time, and when I'm in a rush I also make mistakes. So yeah, I'd just say one of the key steps is allowing enough time and just enjoying yourself. Like you could have a glass of wine with it. I mean, I'm having a coffee to keep me awake, but yeah, you could have like a glass of wine. You could obviously get ready with your girlfriends. Like I just think having enough time is a key part. I like to start with my eye makeup, and that actually allows time for my like skincare and primer to kind of like really sink into my skin. So I'm actually going to start with priming my eyelids. So I just take a concealer. This is the Maybelline Age Rewind in the shade Sand, and I take like a flat concealer brush, and I like to take quite a thick layer of it actually, because it just helps my eyeshadow last longer. I mean, some people don't like to wear a concealer as an eyeshadow primer, like they prefer an actual eyeshadow primer, but I find a concealer is actually sufficient, and actually it's a little like tip for saving on an eyeshadow primer. Just use your concealer, and I don't have a problem with it. I think it makes my eyeshadow last longer. It's a base for it to almost like stick to as well. So use a concealer that's got a little bit of a tacky finish, and the Maybelline Age Rewind is a really good one. And I just take my damp beauty blender and I start to blend this all in. For eyeshadow, I think I'm going to use two palettes today. I'm going to start with my KKW Classic 2 palette, which just got like all the perfect like nudie neutral colours. I really like this palette. The eyeshadow quality is actually really nice as well. So I'm just going to spritz like a flat-ish brush. I just take a really cheap fixing spray. It's not a very good setting spray, but it's fine for eyeshadow, just as like a little grip for the eyeshadow to pick up on. It just makes your eyeshadow a bit more pigmented. So I'm going to start with this shade here, which is the shade Manifest, and start to kind of just work it into like the centre of my eyelid and kind of just pack over where I've put the concealer. So this is going to be a very neutral nude base. I really like this colour because it's got a really soft pink undertone, but it's a really lovely neutral shade, and it acts, as I say, as a really, really nice base for your eyeshadow. And then you can kind of build any sort of colour after it. Like you could go for a bright bold look, or you could keep it really nude and neutral, but it's just a really nice like base colour, and it's really, really like nude, which we like. Take a fluffy blending brush and take the shade Exist, which is a slightly darker pink neutral shade, and I'm just going to start to blend this into my outer corners. What I like to do is kind of like lift and then start to buff it into that like outer V section. Just kind of start to extend it up to the kind of tip of my eyebrow. In another flat kind of eyeshadow brush, and I'm gonna dip it into a more glittery pink eyeshadow, just to kind of like make this a bit more sparkly, because sometimes I do just like a plain matte eyeshadow look, especially more recently I have liked that, but because I'm going out I want to add a bit of sparkle to my eyeshadow. So I'm going to take my Amrezy X ABH palette, and I'm going to dip into the shade Anastasia, which is this one here, and it's like a really, really nice nudie pink with kind of like some glitter reflexes in it, and I really like this eyeshadow. So I'm just going to begin to pack this onto my eyelid. See, it's quite subtle, but it's really pretty. So I'm just going to pack this all over. Just to brighten my inner corner, I'm going to take my classic Dose of Colours X iluvsarahii highlight in the shade Soulmate, and I like to take a little bit of this on a really small detail brush and just begin to pack that in my inner corner. And because this is more like a silvery sort of highlight with a slight champagne undertone, I guess, it does just brighten up the inner corner to any eyeshadow look. Like I love adding this, like it just adds this additional glow to your inner corner. And if you like being super glowy, then I'd recommend doing this, but you could just leave as is, but I just like to do this as an addition. And then for lashes, I'm taking the Prettylittlething X Tatti lash in the shade Girls Night, because I thought this would be perfect. I have used these lashes before. I have another pair of them, but these are actually a fresh set, because I just thought that would be nicer to use. So yeah, I'm just gonna open these. They're so fluffy, and because they're like double layered, so they're quite like full. So if you like a full extra lash, then I definitely recommend these. Like, look at them. They've got, yeah, so like, I don't know if you can see from the side, but they've got like 2 layers to them. Yeah, so they're really fluffy and full, and I really, really like these. So I'm just going to pop these on with my Huda Beauty lash glue. These are the lashes. They're super like full and wispy. I really, really like them. And yeah, they're perfect for a night out, I think. Recently, for foundation, I've kind of just been like mixing my foundations to kind of create some sort of concoction. So I like to take my Christian Dior foundation. This is their Forever foundation in the shade W0. So I take like a few pumps of this, and this is quite like a yellowy sort of foundation. And then to kind of like darken it up and make it a bit more like liquidy, I take my L'Oreal Infallible in the shade 260, which is quite like a dark colour, but it has more of like a brown undertone to it. And then if I want to, depends like how tanned I am, but I just take 1 pump of my Fenty Beauty Pro filter in the shade 330, and that kind of gives it a bit more of like an orange colour to it. And then if I want to just neutralise it ever so slightly, I take a pump of my 140 Infallible. Now that may seem a lot of foundation, but I like it to be quite full coverage and put on like 1 to 2 layers. So all these together mixed just gives me the perfect sort of finish. So I kind of just then take my Fenty Beauty foundation brush, and I kind of just like swirl them into each other, and then begin to like blend it into my face. So once the colours all mixed together and are blended, it's a really nice finish. And I like my foundation to be full coverage, so I do put on like a couple of layers. Well, not layers, but like I put on like one layer and then I'll just build whatever I have left over. So it might seem quite a lot to some people, but that's how I get like a flawless finish. And I always like to bring it down my neck as well, just so it's all like one sort of colour. And I'm going to be wearing like an off the shoulder top, so it's important that I'm not too like blotchy. And then I just begin to like blend it in. So it's kind of like one layer really like buffed into the skin. I just think it's so important to spend time like working it all into your skin. Like I spend a lot of time on my foundation and concealer just because it's such a key step for me anyway. I just think it makes such a difference if you want to go for that like full coverage, flawless like finish. I just spend quite a lot of my time just like really buffing it into the skin to make sure it's like all even, you got a nice coverage, and just obviously keep working it down as well. But any like leftover foundation, I just then work it into like mainly under my eyes, and also like my forehead area. I like to have a bit more coverage there. So yeah, I'll just continue to buff this all into my skin. Right now my foundation is fully blended in. It's time to conceal, and again I take a mix of concealers. So I'm going to start with my Maybelline Age Rewind in the shade Sand, that I already used to prep my eyelids, and I'm just going to start to build this all over the high points. And then I take my Chanel concealer in the shade 30 Beige and I kind of pop this over. This is a bit more neutral, so this kind of just makes it a bit less like yellow undertoned, because obviously the Sand shade is super bright and I do like a bright concealer, but this just kind of neutralizes it a little bit. And just to add to like the tiniest bit to just make it a bit more brighter in those places I want it to be, I take my Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Concealer in the shade 140 and I literally just take a tiny bit of this in the inner corner of my eyes, the top of my forehead, tiny bit here, and on my chin. And this just gives it that extra brightness. Then again, I just take my damp beauty blender and I just start to blend that all in. Right, so once you've blended all your concealer in, then the next step is to set it all with some sort of setting powder. So I like to use the Huda Beauty baking powder in the shade Banana Bread. So this again is quite another key step for your makeup lasting all night. So I take a separate beauty blender and I just pack quite a chunk of the powder over where I've put my concealer, and yeah, I just sort of like pack it on to those areas. Right, so I'm just gonna let this powder set for a good like 10-15 minutes, and while I do that I'm gonna just add a bit of product to my eyebrows. I don't need loads because they are quite ridiculous as they are, but I'm just going to add a little bit of product to them, and then I'll start to add a bit of bronzer as well while this is setting, just to get that going. But yeah, do let your powder set for a good like 10-15 minutes I'd say, just to make it more impactful than just dusting a layer over. I just think it's important to let it set into your skin if you want that more like contoured snatch look. If you're going for a more natural look, then of course just sweep a little layer over, but if you want it to be like snatched, last all night, then I'd recommend doing that, but it's totally up to you. Brows, I'm first just gonna start to brush them up. I had my eyebrows laminated a little while ago, so the hairs are kind of do stick up, but I do like to brush them through. ABH brow gel, take this one. This is in the shade, I can't remember, it's in the shade like medium brown, and it's just got like a pigment to it, like a brown pigment. So I just kind of mainly concentrate this on the front parts of my brow because that's where a bit more sparse. But I don't like to add too much product because otherwise they then look even more ridiculous. So yeah, I just like kind of brush through lightly. My brows are slightly more filled in now, but ever so slightly. As I said, I don't like to add too much product. And while this continues to bake, I'm gonna start to bronze up my face. I'm just gonna take a little bit of my Chanel bronzer in the shade 40, I think this is. Yeah, this is like a sheer powder, but I just like to, this is how I start to warm up my face. I kind of lift my cheek and I just start to follow that line and kind of brush it upwards, almost like filling in that gap to create a shadow. My Fenty Beauty bronzer in the shade Island Ting, and I'm going to start to go over the initial kind of like shadow I've started to create using the Chanel one. So I'm just going to begin to pack over that. This will deepen it up because this is obviously a darker shade, so I'm just beginning to build it. And see, we're starting to create a shadow here, which will lift your cheekbones and make it more snatched. Like you can already kind of see the difference. So we're just building that up. So it's been a good 15 minutes. I'm going to start to dust off this powder and also blend it in with my beauty blender. As I begin to dust it off, I kind of dust it off quite lightly, but I'm still like buffing it into my skin, because I don't want to just dust it off and that be it. Like I do want it to actually like highlight my face, if that makes sense. So yeah, I kind of just like begin to pack it in. Right, so I've dusted off the powder and I've also bronzed up my face a tiny bit more, and now I'm going to put on my Iconic London liquid illuminating drops in the shade Original. I always do this. This just makes my face a bit more like highlighted and a bit less like 2D, like it just kind of brings everything out. So I definitely recommend these drops. Like I literally have used these for years and I love them. They just kind of like bring out that extra glow. So if you're into that sort of thing, then yeah, 100% recommend these, and they last ages actually. Yeah, I just like pack these on using my finger, and then go over it with my beauty blender just to make sure it's nice and blended into my skin. You see that glow? I'm going to go over the liquid illuminator with some highlighter. So this is the Dose of Colours one that I used earlier, and I just again take like a detail brush and I pack some of this on, and then I put it onto the tip of my nose, like the bridge of my nose, and take a bit of my finger. It just adds like another layer of intensity. I know some people might not like that, but personally I do. So yeah, that's how I achieve that glow, honey. If I want to be a bit more glowy, I take a second highlight. This is my Dose of Colours Desi X Katie in the shade Mirame, and I take like a fan brush and I just kind of like lightly dust this over the highlight I've already applied. And this just makes it even more intense and glowy. It just depends what you like. But yeah, if you want it to be even more extra, then apply another highlight basically. I like to set it all using my Smashbox setting photo finish setting spray, and I just like spritz this all over my face. I've gone ahead and done my hair, and then I'm just going to do a final couple of steps that I like to do before I go out. So I have got a top on, by the way. I like to just like highlight this part of my, I always forget what it's called. Take a fan brush and then take some highlight and just put it onto like my collarbones and my shoulders, especially if you are wearing like a what's it called, like Bardo top or like something strapless, or even if you're wearing like a low cut sort of outfit, this will just like help highlight all that part of your body. And then last thing I'm going to do is pop on some lip gloss. So I'm going to first of all line my lips with the Barry M lip liner in the shade Toast. Pop on some lip gloss. I'm going to take the KKW Beauty gloss in the shade 2.5, nude 2.5, and I'm just going to pop this all over. And this is the finished look. So this is kind of how I get my full beat, full glam face ready for a night out. I'm literally heading out in about 10 minutes. So yeah, this is the final look. I'll link below all the products I used. I hope you found it useful. And yeah, if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe down below, and follow me on Instagram as well. And I'm sure I'll see you very soon with another video. Bye. You believe God is a woman.